Not everything that you try in online business works. In this video, I'm going to talk about my membership site that I started about a year ago over at Preaching Donkey, my other online business. And I'm going to tell you why I am shutting it down after 1 year. There's some lessons that I learned, and there's some things that I think you will benefit from if you are thinking about starting a membership site, or if you have a membership site and you're trying to decide whether to keep going with it or to shut it down. We're gonna get into all that in this video. My name's Lane. I love to help people start and grow online businesses, and that is what I'm all about. So if you are new here, thank you for stopping by. Be sure to hit subscribe, and if you like the video, hit the like button. If you don't like the video, hit the dislike button twice, just to make sure it counts. And I wanna give you something really quick for free. Go to lanesebring.com/super simple. You can pick up my free super simple guide to your first $500 online. I really think that if you can make your first $500 from your content, selling courses, membership sites, if that's something you want to get into, coaching, you are going to be hooked. And all it takes is that first $500 to kind of get you going. So for free, my 6 steps that I've used for both of my online businesses is right there for you. lanesebring.com/super simple. There's also a link in the description below. All right, so a year ago, I started the advanced coaching community. And this was my membership site over at Preaching Donkey. And I partnered up with a friend of mine who is in the same niche with a different brand. And together we made this membership site. And I was super excited about it. It was something I've always wanted to do. When I got into online business, I was very influenced by people like Stu McLaren. They would talk about the joys of having a membership site, and they would talk about the ever so coveted monthly recurring revenue, that if you could set something up where people would pay you every single month, then you would have a predictable income, which is something that online business owners only dream about, and it would be amazing. And so I did the math, and the size of my audience was to the point where I felt like I could probably get a good sized membership site going. I think it would really benefit the people who were in it. And so we launched, with about 25 members, which was about 25 short of the minimum that I really wanted to hit. This was the first thing that was very surprising to me. I had about 8,000 or 9,000 subscribers. He had about 6,000 or 7,000 subscribers. And together we only converted about 25 people on that first launch, which to me and him was kind of a bad sign. It might have meant that either our positioning was off or people just weren't into a subscription product. I don't know what it was, but we had 25 people, so we went with it. And what we offered in this membership site was basically 3 primary deliverables and then a bonus. So the first thing was a live Q&A every month. So every month we would jump on a live call and we would answer questions about the topic that we were teaching on. And then also every month we would offer a masterclass. This was like a lesson, like a full-blown 30-40 minute deep dive lesson with worksheets and downloadables, video lesson. And then we would also offer the community thread where people could interact with us, they could interact with each other. And then the bonus was a mini course that we threw in as a part of the membership. So it was designed to where over time there would be more masterclasses in there and more replays of the live Q&As and more good conversation going on in the thread. And it was priced at $47. When we first launched, we launched it for $27, then we went up to $37 for the second launch, and then $47 when it was all said and done. The most people that we ever had in the membership site at any one time was nearly 50. I think 48 was the most that we ever had in there at one time, and that was after our second launch. So with 48 to 50 people and $47 a month, and then splitting the revenue with some people paying only $27, it just never made a whole lot of money, which was the first challenge. I could have really dealt with just about any other challenge, but because we didn't have enough people in there, we had some issues. The first issue was just the fact that we weren't making a ton of money from it. And when you think about the amount of work it takes to make a masterclass every single month and do a live Q&A and be active in the community, when you're only making making a small amount of money from it, it just kind of becomes a cost analysis. I would look at it and I would go, I only have to sell one flagship course a month to make what this thing is making me per month. So it's a little bit discouraging, but together we just kind of thought, you know what, it's going to grow over time, which if you're going to do a membership site, that's really the attitude that you have to have. You have to say, even if we start small, if we're really just committed to this thing, it's going to grow over time, and the amount of money we make over time is going to grow, and these things are going to become more and more worth it, even if right now we're not making as much and they're not as worth it. But with there being such a small amount of people in the community, not only were we not making that much money, but engagement is also very low when you have a small amount of people. When I say engagement, I mean in the community itself, in the thread, there just wasn't a whole lot of activity. And I've heard people estimate that basically you can count on about 10% of your people actually engaging in the membership site. About 90% are just there for the content. They're lurkers. They might read some of the threads, but they're really not going to contribute much. So if you only have 50 people, that means 5 people are going to actually ever be engaging. The other thing that was low was our live Q&As. I will say the live Q&As were the most fun for me and Brandon, the guy that I partnered with on this endeavor. We loved the Q&As. The only problem is that sometimes there was only like one person on the Q&As. Sometimes there was as many as 5 or 6, but it was still a very small turnout for the Q&As, which made it feel like, gosh, we're doing a lot of work and this thing needs to grow. We both knew that, but it just wasn't. And what it would take for us to outpace churn, which I'll talk about in a second, and to really grow would have required a level of commitment that neither one of us were really up for. And that's one of the things that if you're going to start a membership site, and if you're in a membership site, you just have to decide, is this something that I want badly enough where I'm going to put in whatever it takes in terms of the amount of work, time, and effort to get this thing going? And after a year, we just decided we just really weren't there where we needed to be to get this thing going and growing. It could have happened if we wanted it to with enough time and grit and perseverance. It just wasn't off to a great start. So with not having enough people in it, it meant that there wasn't a whole lot of money, engagement was low, and the live Q&A attendance was also low. So that's kind of off to a bad start. But the other part of it was an admin headache. Now, I'm used to the world of online courses. Online courses are pretty simple. I have a 1 payment option for my online course or a 3 payment option. So I'm only ever dealing with people who are making 3 payments on a course or making 1 payment and purchasing the course. And then if they like it, great. Occasionally, very rarely, I'll have someone ask for a refund and I will grant them that refund. And that's about it in terms of how I have to actively manage my course sales. Membership sites are a different story because people are being billed every month. You are always dealing, at least we were always dealing with failed payments. I have no idea why this kept being an issue, because someone would pay with their credit card one month, then the next month that credit card wouldn't work. And I guess even with a small membership site of 50 people, people's credit cards expire, they forget to update them. And so we're always having to deal with, okay, this person didn't make their payment, we get the notification, we email them. And I just don't love that. I don't love being the content creator and the admin. And when the membership site's not making that much money because there's not a whole lot of people in it, it becomes difficult to hire that problem out. So my thing is, if we had 500 people or even 100 people or 200 people, I would hire away all of these problems. Someone else would deal with all of these problems and I would show up and do the content and the live Q&As and be in the thread a little bit here and there, and that's about it. But all of these problems were mine to deal with and I just hated it. I just didn't like having to deal. Every time I would open up my email and see that there was a failed payment, I would just think, why are we doing this? I don't enjoy this. And that just goes back to the reason why I got into online business in the first place is because there's room for so much passive income. And yet I felt like the membership site, even though there's a potential for it to scale, it really felt very active. So not only was there the failed payments, but there's also people that cancel. And if you have a membership site, you know what I'm talking about. If you're thinking about getting into the membership site game, you just got to be ready for it. People are going to cancel every single month. Someone's going to cancel. It's going to hurt your feelings. It's going to make you feel like bad about yourself. It's going to make you question everything you've ever done, but you can't let that really get to you. But what I didn't like was not necessarily taking it personally that people quit. It was more that I would just feel like, okay, now we're making even less money, and now we have to continually outpace churn. So your churn rate is how many people quit or how many people cancel each month versus how many people stay in. That's the rate of churn. So if you have like a 10% churn rate, that would mean that if you had 50 people in your membership site, you can basically plan on you losing 5 this month. And then next month you'll have 45 and you're gonna lose 4.5 next month. And that keeps going. Well, if you go far enough down that line, you're basically gonna be at 0 unless you continue to launch the membership site. So we were launching every 6 months and we only had 2 rounds of that because the site only lasted for 1 year. But we would get this round of people, be really excited, and then churn would start all over again. And it's just demoralizing and it's a big headache if you don't have someone else to manage it. So what I learned from all of this is that if I decide to ever have a membership site again, there are 2 things that I'm gonna make sure are in place before I ever consider it. Number 1, my audience has to be at least 3 times larger than my audience was when I launched this other one. So I was at nearly 10,000. I won't do it again until I'm at 30,000. And when I say audience, I mean email subscribers. So I wanna have 30,000 email subscribers before I ever even consider a membership site. The reason why is because if you just look at the numbers, 30,000 is going to end up being about 150 to 300 people converting at a 0.5% to 1%. So if I get 1% of 30,000, that is 300 people, and that is enough in a membership site for me to feel like it's worth my time. And the other reason why is because with that bigger audience, making enough money, someone else will manage everything. So I'm still gonna be interacting with the students, I'm still gonna be teaching the masterclasses, I'm still gonna be at the Q&As. All of that would still be me, but someone else would manage failed payments. Someone else would manage churn. Someone else would keep up with everything else. I would just focus on launching it on my normal promotional plan and doing the content, and I would hand all of this off to someone else. So for me, that's where I've landed, and I feel like, honestly, a weight has been lifted off my shoulders that I'm no longer doing the membership site. Loved those people, loved hanging out with them, just not in that product. It just wasn't a good fit. So let me know what you think if you have a membership site or if you're thinking about making a membership site. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Would it still be worth it to you, even if it was a small group of people in there? I'd love to hear from you below in the comments. And if you want to dive into more online business stuff, click on this video right here and we'll talk more about all of this stuff right here in this video.